Hey everyone, I'm Alex, a master black belt trainer here at Six Sigma Development Solutions, Inc. I see this all the time. Companies sitting on an absolute gold mine of data, but they just don't know how to tap into it. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today, trending graphs. Think of them as the key to unlocking the story your data is desperately trying to tell you. They help you spot opportunities, make smarter decisions, and do it all faster. So let's jump right in.
So let me just ask you this. Is your data hiding secrets from you? I bet it is. Because a single number, like last month's total sales, that's just a snapshot. It's one frame in a much, much bigger movie. It doesn't tell you if you're on an upward climb or if you're, heading for a cliff. The real story, the part you can actually act on, is in the trend.
So to unlock that story, we've got to have the right tool for the job. Let's start with the absolute foundation. What are these trending graphs, really? And why are they the cornerstone of making truly data-driven decisions?
Okay, so at its core, a trending graph, you'll also hear it called a run chart, is beautifully simple. It's just a line graph. You've got time running along the bottom, days, weeks, whatever, and on the side you have what you're measuring. That's it. It's a really simple concept, but believe me, its applications are incredibly powerful. And this is really where the magic is. Unlike that single lonely data point, a trending graph gives you this continuous movie of your performance. It shows you the hidden patterns, the sudden shifts, and the long-term trajectory of your process. You actually get to see the whole story unfold instead of just reading the last page.
Now, why should you really care about this? Well, because understanding these charts can have a huge impact on your business. Let's break down exactly why they are absolutely indispensable for any organization that's serious about getting better.
First up, these things are your early warning system. I mean, think about your sales numbers. A tiny little downward drift over a few weeks, that's not going to set off any alarm bells in a static report. But when you plot it on a trending graph, that pattern becomes impossible to miss. You can spot the issue and jump on it before it turns into a full-blown crisis.
Second, they give you a real-time pulse check on your most important metrics, your KPIs. So let's say you launch a new initiative or change a process. You don't have to wait 3 months for some big report to see if it's working. A trending graph shows you the impact of your changes pretty much as they happen, letting you adjust on the fly.
And finally, they help you see into the future, seriously. By looking at the patterns of the past, you can make way more accurate predictions. You can plan your next moves with real confidence, because you're not just guessing anymore. You're making informed forecasts based on what your own data has been doing.
Of course, not all graphs are created equal, and to tell the right story, you have to pick the right chart. So let's dive into how you can match the perfect tool to whatever task you've got in front of you.
So here are your main players. A simple line chart, that's your go-to for continuous data, like daily website traffic. A bar chart is way better when you're comparing separate chunks of time, like total monthly sales for each region. An area chart is kind of like a line chart, but it fills in the space underneath to really emphasize the sheer scale of something, like market share over time. And a scatter plot? That one's fantastic for seeing if there's a relationship between two different things, like if your ad spend is actually leading to more customers.
Okay, so picking the right chart is half the battle. But reading it correctly, that's where the magic really happens. This is probably the most critical skill, learning how to interpret the patterns and really, truly understand the story your data is telling you.
So to read that story, you have to get this one concept, the 2 types of variation. First, there's common cause variation. That's just the natural, expected noise in any system. Think about your daily commute. It's never the exact same time, right? But then there's special cause variation. That's a signal. That's the day there's a huge accident and the freeway closes. It comes from some outside factor, and it tells you something significant changed. Our job is to hunt for those signals.
The first and most obvious signal is a trend. It's just a sustained drift in your data, either going up or down. A consistent upward trend could be great news. Maybe your new training is working. A downward trend, on the other hand, could signal that a piece of equipment is wearing out.
Next, you want to be on the lookout for clusters. These are just groups of data points all bunched up in one area of the chart. A cluster can tell you that something was different during that period. Maybe you had a more experienced crew on that shift, or maybe you got a bad batch of materials. It's a clue that's worth investigating.
Now, a mixture pattern is a big, big red flag. This is when your data is constantly jumping from high to low, crossing that center line over and over again. It's almost always a sign that you've accidentally combined data from 2 totally different processes into one chart. Like graphing the output from a brand new machine and an old, slow one together. The graph becomes a mess and hides what's really going on.
And finally, we have oscillation. This is when your data moves up and down in a really predictable wave-like pattern. It's telling you the process isn't stable. This could be caused by an operator who keeps overcorrecting a machine, or maybe it's linked to something cyclical, like shift changes.
So, knowing how to read a graph is absolutely key. But you also need to create charts that other people can understand in a split second. So, let's run through 4 quick best practices for making your graphs as clear and persuasive as possible.
First, before you do anything, define your message. What's the one thing you want people to walk away with? Second, choose the right chart for that message. We just covered that. Third, design for clarity. This means clear labels, a logical scale, and get rid of any visual clutter that doesn't help tell the story. And last but not least, always tailor to your audience. What you show an engineering team is going to look very different from what you show the board of directors.
When it's all said and done, it really just comes down to this simple idea. Stop just looking at data. Start seeing the story it tells. That's the whole point of a trending graph. It's not about plotting points on a chart, it's about turning raw, boring numbers into a story you can understand, share, and, most importantly, act on.
You know, the secrets in your data are just sitting there, waiting to be discovered. The only question is, are you going to be the one to find them? Start turning your data into powerful, game-changing insights today. If you're ready to really master these tools, I'd love for you to come explore our courses over at sixsigmadsi.com. Thanks so much for watching.